Hi everyone, welcome back to MovieTube and welcome back to some more Lord of the Rings lore. I'm very excited to continue learning with you all, and we are back with another Men of the West video, and I'm very excited. As always, I will leave the link to the channel in the description below. Make sure you do subscribe to Men of the West. Mwah, top tier videos, and I'm very excited to continue learning. So today I want to be learning about Ungoliant, and I'm very excited to get creeped out because ew, but also awesome. So please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment your thoughts on Ungoliant. But yeah, let's get into it.
Their sap poured forth as it were their blood, and was spilled upon the ground. But Ungoliant sucked it up, and going then from tree to tree she set her black beak to their wounds, till they were drained, and the poison of death that was in her went into their tissues and withered them, root, branch, and leaf. And they died, and still she thirsted.
Ooh, still
well
she
met,
thirsted.
friends. Yoiston here with another epic character history for you all today.
Hello, Yoiston.
But this character isn't one who inspires or leads, but one who consumes and destroys. We, of course, all know about Shelob, the Shadow Spider, the same creature that Samwise Gamgee bested in combat.
Yes.
But what of her great mother who began her kind?
Great mother.
Ungoliant
who began
was
her
the
kind.
oldest and
Okay.
greatest of the spiders in Arda, going all the way back to before the creation of the world. Her origin is from the outer darkness, or the void beyond the world,
Ooh.
and outside of the halls of Iluvatar.
I see.
Not even the Valar know of her true conception, but I believe it is possible that Melkor created her with his discord among the music of the Ainur, or that her spirit is truly an enigma without creation, alike to Tom Bombadil. Melkor called upon Ungoliant as he began his rebellions against the Valar, and thus she dwelt in Autumno with him. She didn't do anything notable until after the fall of that fortress and the imprisonment of Melkor by the Valar, when she fled to the southeast of Valinor and Aman, to a ravine called Avathar, south of the mountain Hyr Mentir. There she was able to hide from the Valar and the hunters of Arume, as this was a freezing land where the Valar did not go.
Ooh.
And it was there that she assumed the great shape of a giant monstrous spider who consumed all the light she could find.
So she wasn't that shape
Her
before.
best weapon was called Unlight, and it aided her in hiding, as she was able to spin many webs of this gloom from the light that she consumed.
Damn.
Light was a paradox for Ungoliant, as she hated light, but desired to consume it for sustenance as well.
To use it.
It was in this ravine that she stayed for many long years, feeding off of light and growing even larger.
Damn.
Eventually, after Melkor was set free, the Valar wanted vengeance against his captors, so he went south to find Ungoliant. He found her somewhat larger and more powerful than before, and he requested her aid in his retribution. Melkor planned to destroy the two trees of Valinor that gave off light for the world,
And she was
as they were
happy with that
ultimately
sound.
the preludes to the sun and the moon. Though Ungoliant was tempted by this offer, she feared the power of the Valar.
Oh.
But Melkor offered to sate her hunger with anything she wished, if she would help him.
Okay.
To this end, she agreed, so the two went to Azelohar, a mound that held the two trees of Valinor. During a festival in Valinor, Melkor stabbed the two trees with his spear, and the spider drained the sap and went to work with her poison.
Eesh.
After consuming the light of the two trees, she drank and emptied the wells of Varda that housed the rains and saps of Laurelin, the gold tree, and Telperion, the silver tree. Ungoliant and Melkor fled, using Ungoliant's Unlight to hide them from Arume and Tolkas. These two went over the grinding ice into Middle-earth, towards the ruins of Angband. The spider had grown to such a horrific and monstrous size that even Morgoth, as Melkor was now named, began to fear her.
Oh, really?
She still desired more, however, wanting Morgoth to fulfill his promise.
Insatiable hunger.
Ungoliant demanded jewels from Morgoth that he had stolen from Feanor after the destruction of the two trees. Morgoth begrudgingly relinquished the lesser gems, but hid the Silmarils in his right hand as they continued to burn him, as they were made of almost pure light.
Damn.
Ungoliant desired these three gems that held the last light of the two trees, but to this Morgoth refused.
Wow.
Thus the great spider attacked him and weaved dark webs. The Dark Lord cried out in pain, which was heard by Morgoth's Balrogs under Angband.
Ooh.
These beings of shadow and flame came to their master's aid and tore apart Ungoliant's webs with their whips of flame. In fear, the giant spider fled south, and though the Balrogs prepared to pursue her,
fight against
Morgoth called them off and bade them return with him to Angband.
Okay.
The land that this encounter took place in would be known as Lamoth, and it is said that if a being screams in this area, Morgoth's voice would echo back in the surrounding hills.
Ooh.
Now I imagine that Morgoth let Ungoliant go as he knew that she would flee and no longer pose a threat to him, but to other parts of the world. Some measure of destruction would continue on her part if she was left alive. And so it was that the great spider fled to the dark mountains and glens to the south of Dorthonion, north of Beleriand. These mountains would be called Ered Gorgoth, the Mountains of Terror then after. Ungoliant mated with lesser beasts, and her offspring were evil like herself, though lesser in stature. And one of her daughters,
Shelob.
the last daughter, would be known as Shelob the Great, who would live in the Efel Duath, or the Mountains of Shadow surrounding Mordor. While other lesser spawn of Ungoliant went to Mirkwood, and these are the same spiders that we see in The Hobbit. Ungoliant's true fate is left ambiguous, as it is possible that she starved to death in hiding or in some desert place. In an alternate sketch of Erendiel's story, it is suggested that Erendiel himself slew her in the south. But I believe that the most canonical explanation may be found in the Silmarillion, where Ungoliant's never-ending hunger drove her to devour herself. Quote, when in her uttermost famine she devoured herself at last.
Sheesh, that's cool.
Throughout
their
quests of vengeance, Melkor and Ungoliant served to portray many of the 7 deadly sins of Christian origin. Where Melkor serves the motifs of wrath, envy, and pride, Ungoliant serves as lust, gluttony, greed, and sloth. Thus making these 2 demonic characters all the more evil when examining them through an archetypal lens. If you want to explore this further, more information may be found in the New Tolkien Companion and the Silmarillion, both of which are books that I would highly recommend checking out. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this character history and analysis. I really had a great time exploring this character's lore. If you had a good time as well, please hit that like button, as it really helps the video and the channel out immensely. Let me know your thoughts about this demon of the ancient world down below, and share this video with a friend who you think might enjoy it. As I follow the latest poll on Facebook to see what order I should make the videos in, you have selected Galadriel's epic character history for next weekend, so I'm excited to make that too. Join us on Facebook and our new Twitter through the links in the description below to vote on video topics and contact me more directly with anything related to Tolkien's Legendarium. And please subscribe to stay up to date with my future videos. Thank you all for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my friends.
That was awesome. Okay, and now I thought it'd be really cool to check out the 5 most powerful good and evil beings in the Middle-earth Third Age, which I think is so fascinating because, yeah, powerful in both good and evil are different, and you're powerful in different ways. I would love to check this out, and as always, by Men of the West, a brilliant channel. So let's check this out, and yeah, let's go.
Hey everyone, Yoyston here, and I hope you all are doing well wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today I bring you all a different sort of video, speaking about the 5 most powerful beings of good and those of evil in the Third Age. I hope this video sparks some thought-provoking conversations in the comments below, as well I'll be as objective as possible using different evidence to back up my assertions today.
Ooh, I like that.
This is definitely a subjective topic, so let me know your thoughts. Also, these are in order, with the number 1s of each list being the most powerful, going to the number 5, which is the least powerful of the 5.
Cool.
Before we begin, let me define how I am measuring power in this video. By power, I mean to say the essence, spiritual or otherwise, that allows a character to be one who changes the world, either by influence or conquest. I'll also speak to how they actually used their power, versus their power being theoretical or unused. Power most definitely takes shape differently in these characters, but hopefully my reasons concerning them make sense. Also, let me say outright that Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are not on this list, for while they are most certainly very powerful and did aid our heroes for the good of Middle-earth, they still remain rather neutral overall, At least more neutral than they could have been.
Yeah.
For that same reason, no Valar
Not good,
are on this
nor
list
bad.
either,
I
for
see.
they did not do much in the Third Age of Middle-earth, even though they obviously were good. My friends, let us begin with the most powerful beings of good in Middle-earth.
Let's go.
Number 5, Radagast.
Yes, King.
We begin with an interesting and perhaps controversial choice in the brown wizard, Radagast. Again, based on my disclaimers of power at the beginning of this video, while his spirit is indeed technically more powerful than some others to come on this list, he did not necessarily and explicitly use too much power to aid the West in their fight against Sauron.
Yeah.
And as we know, Maiar can even be slain.
Yeah.
As it even may have been for Radagast, as he disappears from our story.
Mm.
Indeed, the Blue Wizards also could technically fit on this list for that same reason, but we have no idea what power they actually used to fight against the Dark Lord, if fight against him they did.
Yes.
But as for Radagast, he was the master of shapes and hues, and his friendship with the animals of Middle-earth, such as Gwaihir the Wind Lord, and the other eagles, made him quite a helpful individual for the West. Certainly, since he was a Maya and did use his powers to aid nature against the shadow, he deserves the number 5 slot.
I agree.
Number 4, Glorfindel. Of course, Glorfindel deserves a spot on this list.
This
For
is
while he did
Galadriel's
many
brother.
great and powerful deeds in the Elder Days, we must look at what he did in the Third Age explicitly.
Okay.
For that is our concern here today. Glorfindel, with his steed Asfaloth, saved the ring-bearer Frodo Baggins during the Lord of the Rings, and his nature as a high elf helped in pushing the Nazgul into the ford of Bruinen. However, he would likely not be on this list if we considered only these actions. Rather, I also look at when he led the forces of elves alongside Elrond and King Eärnur of Men in crushing the realm of the Witch King, Angmar in the north, at the end of the Angmar War. Glorfindel was the only one who understood the nature of the Witch King during this battle as well, knowing he would not fall by the hand of man. If Glorfindel had used more of his potential power in the Third Age, as he surely might have in aiding the White Council or in doing other non-explicit deeds, he may be considered more powerful on this list, but as it stands, he is number 4.
Okay.
Number 3, Elrond.
Elrond
most definitely deserves to be number 3 on this list, for while one may argue he was not the warrior Glorfindel was, or have the power that Radagast had, he had capabilities concerning leadership, wisdom, the knowledge of lore, healing, and much, much more to offer. What's more, he carried the Ring of Air, which had preeminence over the other elven rings. In protecting and ruling Rivendell throughout the Third Age, aiding in the fight against Angmar, and then being a most reliable ally to many heroes during the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, Elrond was quite powerful in a different way, indeed.
Yes, in influence.
During The Hobbit, his knowledge of lore allowed him to identify the swords of Gondolin, and his knowledge of moon runes allowed him to translate the map of Thror. His friendship and renown reached far, allowing him to summon the Council of Elrond to decide the fate of the ring, which he only did after having the power to heal Frodo of a Morgul wound, something that few others in the history of Middle-earth even had the power to do.
Interesting.
And even before this, Elrond used his power to wash away the Nazgul in a flood in the Bruinen River, combining his power with that of Gandalf to accomplish this. In doing all of these things, Elrond is quite responsible for the adventures of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings happening as they did. He would also play a great role concerning the descendants of the kings in the north, and his urging that his daughter should only be married to the king of both Arnor and Gondor made such kingdoms rise in splendor under King Elisar. Elrond is certainly number 3. Number 2, Galadriel. Galadriel, the bearer of Nenya, the Ring of Water,
powerful as hell.
The daughter of Finarfin, one of the last elves to have seen the light of the 2 trees of Valinor left in Middle-earth, and the Lady of Lothlorien most certainly deserves to be the second on this list. She had mighty power, for she protected her realm with her ring, and it is said that Lothlorien could have only fallen if Sauron himself came there, and certainly that was because of Galadriel. She had the strength of will to reject the One Ring when it was offered to her,
which is intense.
That if she did not have the will to forego the ring, as she did and diminish into the west, Middle-earth would have become her dominion. Throughout the earlier years of her life, she wanted her own realm to rule, and had such in the Third Age. And if she did not quell her ambition, Middle-earth itself might have been her realm.
Good for her.
We see with the destruction of Dol
Guldur
is
not
she had
everything.
Powers akin to those Luthien used on Tol in Gowerhoth, and she could have definitely wrought more havoc with her magic if she had the will to do so. She had also worked subtly, however, with examples being the mist that shrouded the Eothade from the eyes of Dol Guldur on their way to the field of Celebrant, her mirror that could see glimpses of potential futures, and her phial that captured the light of Eärendil. Galadriel was very powerful indeed. Number 1, Gandalf.
Gandalf. I knew
Finally,
it would be.
for the faction of good, no one deserves the #1 spot more than Gandalf,
And
with
that's
emphasis on his
facts.
time as
No one
Gandalf
deserves
the
it
White.
more.
While his former years as Gandalf the Grey were filled with many examples of his power, both concerning his powers as a Maya and wizard, especially when he slew a Balrog, and his wisdom and kindness also, Gandalf the White, who ousted Sauron from the White Council and Order of the Wizards, was indeed more explicitly powerful than Gandalf the Grey. What's more, both Gandalf the Grey and White bore the Ring of Fire, Narya, given to him by Círdan the Shipwright, and this ring allowed him to inspire courage in others, which is perhaps one of the most powerful things a person could do in
Even though he would say that Bilbo
the
gave
West would
him
have certainly fallen
courage.
without him and his many alliances, and Gandalf was most definitely the most powerful character among the factions of good.
A king.
With the 5 most powerful characters among the factions that stood for the good of the world in mind, let's now look at the most powerful 5 characters who sought to do evil.
Who sought to do naughty.
Number 5, Smaug.
Ooh, okay.
Smaug the dragon was the most powerful of his kind left in the world during the Third Age, and his actions broke 2 kingdoms, if only temporarily, those of Erebor and Dale. While a more agitated and active Smaug could have certainly wreaked havoc upon much of Middle-earth, and would perhaps be higher on this list of power if he had been so evil, he was lazy and unmotivated after taking Erebor.
Mood.
He possessed a large size, mighty wings, nearly impeccable armor, and breath of fire,
But he wanted
which would go
to
on
sleep.
to destroy Lake Town ere he died from the black arrow of Bard the Bowman. While Smaug deserves to be on this list, and may have been more innately powerful than number 4, which is to come, in some ways at least, he did not use much of his power after his most infamous deed, taking Erebor, landing him at number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, the Witch King of Angmar.
Mm.
The Lord of the Nine Nazgul, the greatest servant of Sauron, a sorcerer and warlord from Numenor, the bane of the North Kingdom of Arnor. The Witch King of Angmar showed on many occasions his great power. As implied by that last sentence, he also had many, many powers and capabilities, and accomplished great evil in his time. And some of the greatest examples of his power are how he used Angmar to crush Arnor, send spirits into the Barrow Downs, use incantations and Morgul sorcery, and even stand up against Gandalf the White. The Witch King alone would have been a large and looming threat over Middle-earth in the Third Age, but there were yet others more powerful than him, and all 3 of them were Maiar. Number 3, Durin's Bane. The Balrog of Moria, one of the last legacies of the depths of Morgoth's evil,
My God.
was one of the most powerful evils in the Third Age, having taken the kingdom of Khazad-dûm from the dwarves, which would have been nearly impossible for any other evil to do at the height of the dwarven civilization.
Oh, interesting.
Durin's Bane was also the reason for Gandalf the Grey's demise, meaning the power of this creature was nigh comparable to his, which makes sense, as Durin's Bane was also a Maya. Indeed, if the Balrog had gone forth from Moria,
he's like a fallen Maya, in a way. Like a demon.
Number 2, Saruman of Many Colors.
Of many colors, okay.
Saruman, once called the White Wizard, who would have perhaps taken the number 1 slot on the list of powerful good beings if he had remained loyal to the West.
Right, yes.
Was still one of the greatest malices in Middle-earth during the late Third Age. His Palantir gave him access to the Dark Lord directly.
Yeah.
His fortress of Isengard and his Tower of Orthanc gave him a strategic place of incredible strength.
And he created armies upon armies of
Uruk-hai,
Uruk-hai.
the head of the White Council and Order of the Astari or Wizards, meant that he was not only incredibly powerful, but also was deep in the councils of the factions of the West.
So influence and
He did
power.
study too deeply into the arts of the enemy, however, and he lost his way. And what's more, his pride was his undoing, for nature turned against him on 2 occasions.
The Ents.
Once when he had imprisoned Gandalf, who had attempted to see the One Ring destroyed, and the Grey Wizard was saved by Gwaihir the Windlord. And the second was when the Ents of Fangorn turned Saruman's fortified position into a waste of water and stone.
Yeah.
In the end, this once mighty and arrogant wizard was slain by one he considered to be a slave, Wormtongue, amidst those he considered too weak to be of notice, the hobbits. What he did with his power turned everything and everyone, even the Dark Lord Sauron himself,
the actual
against
book.
him. Number 1, the Dark Lord Sauron. Finally, unsurprisingly, Sauron is most definitely the most evil,
of the
powerful
Third Age.
being in the Third Age. From his innate power as a Maya, having been the lieutenant of Melkor, knowing much about the powers of ringcraft and necromancy, and being one of the greatest influences over all things and people that opposed the good of the West,
having control
Sauron
of all
wielded
other
immense
darkness.
power.
like
Perhaps the best way
Balrogs,
to depict
dragons.
this is to say that Sauron, who was disembodied for most of the age, and when he did have a physical body, was still weak, who only survived because of a ring he made in the previous age, which was either lost or in the hands of his enemies, was still the greatest threat to Middle-earth.
That says a lot, yeah, that's
The ring
fair.
itself was almost too much for his enemies to overcome, let alone all of his armies and the strength of his realm, Mordor.
Yeah.
If he had been embodied and had the ring, the world would have fallen before him undoubtedly, thus making him the most powerful being of evil in the Third Age. From the stories of these powerful beings, we see that most power in and of itself is neither good nor evil. It's what one chooses to do with it that truly counts.
What you choose to do with the time that you have.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this different sort of lore video today. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. What are your thoughts on all of this, and what do your lists of most powerful good and evil characters in the Third Age look like? Let me know in the comments below.
I really like that list. I think it's very accurate. Thanks to our patrons,
Adrian De La Torre, Chris Ortner, Cal Wetzel, Peter Shepard, Jonathan Putnam. Please subscribe and hit that bell button to join the Men of the West and all of the Free Peoples today. And I'll see you all again on Sunday with that video on Pippin. You all are the best, my friends. Thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one.
All right. Okay, I really like that video as well. I feel like that is... in my opinion, like a really well put list. Of course, I know a lot less than Men of the West, but I definitely agree with that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I know it was a slightly shorter video, but there'll be more to come. And yeah, thank you so much for all the support and just joining me in learning and in discovering the lore that is Lord of the Rings. And I really appreciate it. And I'm enjoying learning along with you all. So I will see you all in the next one. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and comment your thoughts on especially that last one on the list, but also on Ungoliant. All right, see you. Bye.